Well, listen. If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
Sometimes, when there's nothing meaningful to say, people just keep talking, filling the air with endless chatter. That's exactly what happens on The View, where the hosts seem more disconnected from everyday Americans than ever. And if there's one thing they could use, it's a reality check. For years, Whoopi Goldberg has led the show like a queen on her throne, dismissing guests, steamrolling opposing opinions, and delivering her take as if it were the ultimate truth. But then, in a moment no one saw coming, Karoline Leavitt flipped the script. It started like any other episode. Smug laughs, exaggerated eye rolls, and a panel nodding along in perfect agreement with the usual left-leaning narrative. But this time, something was different.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Whoopi, as confident as ever, leaned back, ready to take control of the conversation. Then, the topic of wokeness hit the table. A concept The View treats like sacred, ground, defending it as if their entire identity depends on it. In many ways, it does. With her trademark smirk, Whoopi seized the moment. She turned to Karoline Leavitt, brimming with certainty, and delivered a bold remark. Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job. And just like that, bam! The mood in the room flipped. The air grew thick. Even the audience felt the shift. Joy Behar, known for taking shots at conservatives without hesitation, suddenly looked uneasy in her seat.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good.
And what does Whoopi say next? Exactly what you'd expect. Predictable, tired, and honestly, exhausting. After all these years in the host's chair, you'd think she'd bring something fresh to the table. But nope, same old script, different day. So, let's hear it. What's her next move?
In a statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you. Is everything rigged?
No, it's their MO. That's what they do. Rachel Maddow said last week, she's like, if the election is lost, it was rigged. If there's a debate, then the moderators are probably biased and they're prejudiced against me.
The tension in the studio was thick. Everyone braced for what came next, though no one, least of all Whoopi, was prepared. For the response she was about to get, this wasn't just a casual debate or a snarky back and forth. No, Whoopi had just taken a direct shot at Karoline's career, intelligence, and work ethic, reducing everything she had built to nothing more than a product of the very ideology she opposed. It was dismissive. It was condescending. It was meant to shut Karoline down completely. And yet, the audience clapped, some even chuckled. But beneath the surface, there was something else. An awkward, uneasy energy, as if even they sensed Whoopi had just stepped too far but weren't sure. They were allowed to acknowledge it. Karoline, however, didn't flinch. She didn't stammer, backpedal, or grasp for a clever retort. Instead, she did something far more powerful. She smiled. A slow, knowing smile that said, "You just made a huge mistake." It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't bravado. It was the confidence of someone armed with facts, someone who knew they were about to turn the entire conversation on its head, and with a calm so steady it was almost unsettling. That's exactly what she did. By the way, if you're loving this takedown, don't forget to like and subscribe, because what happens next is even better. Karoline didn't just respond, she dismantled. With cold, irrefutable facts, she laid it all out. Government reports showing taxpayer dollars funneled into bizarrely woke initiatives. gender studies programs in Guatemala. Sesame Street, spin-offs pushing American social activism worldwide. A long list of eyebrow-raising expenditures that raised far more questions than answers. With sharp precision, Karoline connected the dots, exposing how wokeness had evolved from a social movement into a political tool, a mechanism used to silence, control, and punish anyone who dared to push back. And Whoopi?
Divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world.
You have to admit, Karoline is incredibly articulate. It's almost shocking that the hosts of The View chose to mock her instead of uplifting another woman. But then again, moments like this expose their true priorities. So, what happens next? Well, if history tells us anything, Karoline isn't done yet. She's about to drop even more hard-hitting truths so undeniable, even they won't be able to brush them off.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
The woman who had spent years controlling the conversation, shutting down dissent, and bulldozing through uncomfortable truths, now found herself in an unfamiliar position, on the defensive. Whoopi shifted in her seat, her usual smirk nowhere to be found. Her hands fidgeted as if searching for something, anything, to hold on to. She had always been quick with a sharp comeback, a dismissive wave, or a well-timed laugh to silence her opponents. But this time, the tables had turned, and Karoline wasn't giving her a way out. In that moment, it became undeniable. Whoopi had backed herself into a corner. She opened her mouth, then shut it, tried again, but the words wouldn't come. The audience, usually eager to cheer her on, sat frozen. Even the most loyal View fans seemed unsure of how to react. Should they clap? Laugh? Wait for Whoopi to regain her footing? The tension in the room was thick. Even the camera crew hesitated. Should they zoom in and capture the precise moment Whoopi realized her mistake? Or cut to commercial and hope? The audience didn't catch on. Whoopi, who had always been the master of control, suddenly looked like she wished she could disappear into her chair. She had walked straight into a trap, and there was no easy way out. Then, Karoline delivered the question that shattered everything. If wokeness is about diversity and inclusion, why are conservative women always the ones under attack? Why do those who preach tolerance turn hostile when faced with someone who disagrees? The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time, Whoopi had no witty remark, no sarcastic quip to regain control. The tension stretched unbearably. Desperate to break the moment, Joy Behar awkwardly jumped in with a forced joke, but the damage had already been done. Whoopi, Goldberg, the woman who had dominated The View for years, had just done something no one thought possible. She had completely unraveled, live on air.